Okay.
Doing very well, ma. Doing very, very well.
Thank you.
If it's just us for now, can we start and everybody can catch up when they come?
We could do. Bear with me just one moment. I'm just sending them a group message to say if they're joining.
Because we're eager to know about you, what you are, what you stand for, what drives you, what you bring to the table, your vision, your mission, your ethos, your ethics.
Oh, wow. All of it, Esther.
Oh, I'm ready. I'm ready. I'm ready.
All of it.
Yes, ma'am.
Yeah, so that's why it's probably probably a good idea to have a couple of my colleagues on, because I'm attached to one particular project with the agency, but we have a number of different projects, and we're really just kind of trying to think about how best to meet the needs of some of the families that are arriving in Edinburgh.
That's great. That's absolutely fine.
I'm really interested to hear more about how you, Ola, when you were talking about bridging between parents and social services, how that works. And I can see where you would easily get parents on board. I could see how appealing to parents your organisation would be. How willing have social services come to meeting halfway across that bridge?
Thank you very much. That's a very good question. Can you all hear me? That's a very good question. Like I've said, the first period came in July. Around July 2019. That was when the first period came in. Is it July or February? I could remember. But we had a very difficult challenges at the beginning because we had to first go through the complaint procedure. And in the process, I must tell you, honestly speaking, I was also racially motivated abused from the social services team. I was treated unfairly because to them, they said coming in there is a conflict of interest because I was a parent of the school the mother was. But this is a very confidential discussion. They also, I told them, when you gave the children to the fostering team, when the father came through the school and you gave the children to the school staff, was there no conflict of interest there? And besides, I have different cap on my head. I'm a community advocate. I'm also parent governor. I'm also the political leader in terms of African Asian minority led. I'm a scrutiny panel member for hate crime for Crime Prosecution Service. I'm independent advisor for police. So I've got that diverse role. So you cannot say it's a conflict of interest because a different cap at a different time. So that was when the argument comes in at first. However, that does not stop us progressing. So we go through the complete procedure. We realized it wasn't work well. That is why we go on a campaign. We did demonstration. We liaised with the Cleveland Police. We liaised with the Member of Parliament. We carry him along. And local pop news reporter, they're also involved in ensuring that, because like I've said, we are not there to fight the system. However, we are there to protect the interests of the children and their families. But social workers sometimes only focus on children aspects. They forgot that children are part of the family. So you need to understand that. So we put in those things, and a lot of them, it's a systemic problem. I must tell you, it's a systemic problem. So when it's a systemic problem, it's so difficult. because every key individual decision maker would not want to speak the truth. They rather want to stay silent. And that's difficult. When you know things go wrong, accept it, make it right. But nobody wants to. But we thank God, shortly after that, Ofsted report came and it found them inadequate in our area. So that supports our concerns like 2 times. And they almost lost their control, almost taken by the government, but at the end of the day, they work it out within themselves. However, our persistence, our continuous speaking up for families, standing on what is right, gives us that standout right. So they had to change the executive director has to step down. So the new man came in and knows what we are doing, had to call for a meeting, and we reached consensus, but not meeting our target because things have gone wrong. Accepted. Then we can move forward together. But for us to move forward together, we need to make some things right, isn't it? But that's the bigger challenges. They don't want to. They want all those cases to be bygone, and while we focus on future, that is not going to be acceptable. Because there are a lot of families that came to us that made us to be aware of the atrocity or injustice or preferential treatment. And this is not only to African, Asian, minority ethnic community alone. It happens to white British when they are low income earner, when they are not influential, when they are not a political leader. Because you cannot see a child of political leader in care system because research has said that care is not the best thing. It's the last option. It should be the last option. When you've explored all possible efforts, if it doesn't work, then they have to go to care. And the only thing is to monitor that care. So in a nutshell, it has not been an easy journey. Like I've told you, the secretary director just emailed me this morning again. So we do constant meeting together, we talk it out, and we realize that if things come early, like Dee mentioned, the one we have find difficult is those that share already in care. But if they're about to go to care, or there's a safeguarding concern raised, when they come in as early as possible, when we are part of the process, I think it's always worked well for us. Because in the last 1 year now, we've saved like 16 children from entry care or entering that child protection. Even some has entered strategy meeting, but some has entered protection conference meeting, but they have not been to care or going to court for order. So we are able to come in truly as soon as possible, offer support, offer training, and they know where they got it wrong, even from the parents and from the social service team as well, because both parties sometimes there's a way they got it wrong. You know what I mean? So coming early has been helpful. Though if it's already in care system, we have to go back to court because it has been given by court sometimes. So that's it. But it's a long-term relationship that we need to build and the trust. And we also need to agree on the agenda of what we are all looking for.
And I don't know, was that
answer your question, Anne?
That's it. She gives a thumbs up. And also Kamal has his hand up. Thank you, Ola. That was awesome. Kamal has his hand up. Kamal, okay.
Thanks. I just a follow-up to Anne's question. I can sense your passion and determination in the kind of work you do, Ola. But I think just a follow-up to what Anne was trying to solicit from you. How would you describe your working relationship with social services? Is it still frosty, or you have been able to iron out things, and how are things working out? How working out with between yourself as an independent organization, engaging in such advocacy work with the
Hello.
Oh,
hello.
I think we've lost Kamal.
Yeah. I would say it has been experienced. It has been so inspiring. I've learned so much. They've learned so much. We all both know our boundary. We know our boundary and we know what we look for. So, like I've said, it is from the same local authority and neighboring authority that we're able to safely protect children from entry care. Because when the parent insists they need a support in any meeting, in any intervention, in any interaction, then they try to be more professional, because the ways it's being initiated does not be helpful to them, to the parents, and the social worker team are not being seeing themselves safe or interacting with the parents. So they are now trying to bridge that gap as well. Why we also have to want to bridge that gap as well. So it's like both of us, we want to reach a consensus. So for instance, it has to do with a multi-agency team. So we work along with everybody. When a parent comes to us, we got information from them, and immediately we contact the local authority to get information from them. We contact the police to get information from them, and we contact the ex department to get information from them. Because these are the three people that will make a judgment or conclusion on a case. So when they know that we are involved in all those areas, then they have to do things right. So like I've mentioned, the course we are doing, we did one event on the 15th of May. If the team from local authority cannot be there, they will have to send apology. They will appreciate it, and they will say the reason why they cannot. So you can see there's a working relationship. Though we might not meet all our targets. You know what I mean? We might not meet all our targets, but there's an element of relationship within us. And locally, there are thousands of organizations that does not want to work with us at the initial stage. They don't want to work with us, and we don't want them to work with us, because we know our beliefs. We know what we stand for. Like Shirley Chisholm, the first elected American woman in US, she says, you don't make progress by whimpering, complaining, standing on the sideline. You make progress by implementing ideas. So when you implement ideas, you provide solution to them, then they will are the one to come to you. Like today now, they are the one requesting for the content of the course. It's so interesting to them. They want us to see how, and not only our local authority, like 5-6 local authority at the last cohort we did, made a referral of parents. So when other local authorities are making referral of parents involved with care or with challenges of safeguarding issue, and we are able to help them out, then why your local authority will not want to? Because we are trying to reduce the rate of children in care, not at the detriment of the children, but at a very positive outcome approach to both parents and both children and also local authority, because it's going to reduce the cost of local authority as well.
Excellent. Thank you so much, Brother Ola. I see Anne is thinking pensively. Want to say something?
I am. My colleagues will not be surprised when I say things like structure. I'm seeing a structure here, and I'm seeing the Scottish version. I worked in Birmingham and in Birmingham city centre many years ago. Obviously a different environment, different multicultural environment to that in Scotland. However, I was very aware of the juvenile court system and the court system and the family court system in England that is not mirrored in Scotland. We have a children's hearing system, which is the arm of our justice system in relation to families. So we don't talk in terms of courts. Most of the time, as a first response, we have a hearing system that has a panel of lay people, and it's, in my opinion, because I've worked with both systems, it's much more family and children centred. That's the good news. The bad news is that it still has lots of prejudices, and systemic racism exists within there as well. It's by no means perfect. I suppose one of the things I have to say is that I'm really sorry to leave so soon, but I have to leave in about 5 minutes to go to another meeting. I'm so glad to be able to hear your input, Ola, because you've sparked lots of thoughts in my head about where we could work together. And I will leave my colleagues to give more comment, but I think we're quite well placed in the Edinburgh scene to be included and involved in terms of advocacy. We're an agency that trains social workers. So that early intervention that Dee was talking about is a pathway that's well trodden by us. We casework with families. Families are often referred to us by social work as a recognised agency that will be able to work and assess the needs of children. Now, we don't do child protection work, we don't do statutory social work, but we do often liaise with families where social work regard our intervention as being of benefit to the family, and that we might have an inroad to working with the family that statutory services wouldn't. So we've already got all of those potential inroads. I'm really, really interested in the course that you've run. I'm really interested in how we might adapt it with your permission and guidance to work alongside our early intervention processes, because I would say we get involved with families way before, usually way before statutory intervention takes place. So we have got an inroad there, again, to use that term, to be able to offer families some valuable space to discuss the dual culture parenting, the dual expectations, the difficulties when they arise earlier, perhaps than your beginnings, where you've been pulled in at the crisis point, by the sounds of it, in the history of that original woman. There was a crisis point. We get involved in crisis intervention, but often we're working with families who are simply identified as vulnerable, and it gives us that early intervention. Dee and Kamal, am I making sense?
You're making absolute sense, and I think, for me, what's really kind of resonated in terms of how we can possibly look at working together is, I think, what Ola was talking about. So the bridging role, that where that's absolutely key, to be the go-between person to explain things from different perspectives, different cultures. Ola, I think you made reference to families that have maybe been using their hands, or their voice has risen in a meeting, and that's perceived as being aggressive, or etc. And it's opportunities for us to, and it's how we would work anyway, to go beneath the behavior. What's driving it? What's fueling it? What are the feelings? What are the but also, thinking about, if most families' motivation is for one purpose and one purpose only, to raise their children to be the best that their children can possibly be. And, and I think where our role then comes about is, maybe thinking about some of the practices that they might have had to use in the past, that their parents might have had to use in the past, to keep them safe or to help them grow and develop in a different culture, but what the alternatives are. So again, it aligns with what you were saying, Ola, in terms of education and enlightenment, and discussing different ways of doing things. So yeah, like Anne, I think I would be interested in how we can learn from each other, perhaps potentially develop something for us as an agency. And I suppose the part that I'd started sort of talking about before you came online was around, we have some work to do in terms of understanding the needs of the African community in Edinburgh. I think it's quite varied. It's not a homogenous African community, and we understand that there's different needs in different groups. So it's how best we can try to create something that's obviously not a one size fits all, but a space where there's room for collaboration and ideas to be discussed, and sharing of existing knowledge and creating new ways of building knowledge together. So I'd be sorry, Anne, that didn't quite respond to your question in terms of what you're saying making sense.
Just before and before you go, just to tell you, one of the African proverbs says, it takes a village to raise a child. And according to one of the parents, this is what she said while you are going. She said, who said there wasn't a manual to parenting? I keep on saying there's a manual, there's something. Why was this course not there years ago? Why didn't we have this course? I wish we had this course years ago. I have learned so much. It's like a lifesaver. You said your prayer and God answered your prayer. He brought this course at the right time. So these are the feelings of some of the parents.
Mm-hmm.
They
That's
did
quite some endorsement, Ola, that, we're always very keen to bring the voices of the people that we work with to the fore whenever we're trying to describe our work. But what an endorsement. You must be very proud of that.
Yeah, thank you very much.
I'm going to have to go. Colleagues, I hope very much to meet you again and discuss this more. I'm going to leave you with Dee and Kamal to perhaps arrange that. Sorry, folks, to have to bail.
It was so nice to have met you. Thank you so much.
It was good to meet you, Ola. And who did we lose?
We lost Chido.
Chido. Please thank Chido too for me. And I'll catch up with you soon. I'll catch up with you, Dee and Kamal.
What I would like us to do now, if it's possible, sorry, Pen, I don't know if you finished, okay. But I'd like us to, with the CEO always talks about structure, so I'm going to borrow her word. Let's structure what are we doing as organizations, agency, and this Save the Woman charity, CIC. What can we do together? Is it that some of your students will come to our courses and be taught, or what can we brainstorm? What can we project or suggest going forward, just to kind of tie up the meeting nicely together, if that's okay with everybody? If we're all in agreement that we are a great company and we should work collaboratively, yes. All right, so I want everyone to think and please pitch your ideas. Ola, what do you think about what I just suggested?
Yeah, I think that's absolutely fine. Part of our segment of our work has to do with advocacy. Just to know, Kama, did you do anything like that? Advocacy support?
So I suppose the advocacy role, Ola, would be integrated into the social work role. We see that as an integral part of some of the work we do for our families, i.e. acting on their behalf if necessary. If it's quite specialist advocacy that is needed, sometimes we would look at referring on to an alternative agency. But no, so in terms of we don't have advocates per se within the organization. That role would be integrated into a piece of work, into casework with the family. Does that make?
Yeah, because I would love to, I would love to know more about that, because that's one of the key things that we stand for, and we always make sure fair treatment.
Mhm.
We don't encourage abuse of power or abuse
Mhm.
of process. So we always have people to respect each other. You know, sometimes it's difficult to work in this system. They said, "These are professional. This is I disregard your word. I don't go by what you said, or you don't listen to me, or you don't abide by what I said." Then you are in trouble. You know what I mean? So big portion of the work we do is advocacy, and part of it is parenting as well.
And our feelings of just being present here and doing what we're doing, not for today alone, but for posterity, for the people who will come after us, for generations to come. If not, what's the point? Why would we get involved in anything that's so transient? It's not even gonna last 1 month or 2 months or 1 year or 2 years. So I want to say thank you on behalf of Save the Woman. I want to say thank you so much for being here. Thank you for your time. Thank you for putting your brains and all those molecules, just, you know, those wheels have been turning. Okay, this is what's going on. How can we grow it? How can it benefit our people? You know, how can we come alongside? So well done. Thank you, Ola. We will meet together, all of us board members of Save the Women, and we'll come back to you, I think, through D. So Kamal, you hear from D, and Anne, also all of you in your team will work together as well, and we'll convene a new meeting that we all agree on. Is everybody in agreement? Any more questions, outstanding questions or comments, contributions?
No, that all sounds wonderful, Esther. Thank you so much, Esther. Thank you, Olalekan. It's just been really informative, and I'm for one, quite inspired to think about, what some joint working will look like going forward. I think, Kamal and I and Anne have some things to reflect on and to talk about. And yes, we'll look forward to hearing from you in due course. So much appreciated.
Thank you. On that note, I'm going to say goodbye and God bless. Have a wonderful day.
All right. Thank you.
All I want to say is